Welcome to the Effortlessly Abundant Life podcast, where we will dive into the mindset, spirituality, and practical tools to have more of what you want with less effort. I'm your host, Natalia, a mindset shifter, certified life and success coach, and hypnotherapist who is obsessed with making your life feel good from the inside out. So let's dive in today's episode in 3, 2, 1. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Effortlessly Abundant Life. I have such a treat for you guys today. I brought you the expert for sales and everything of how to really make meaningful interactions with the people that we meet. And it can be in business, it can be personal, it could be all the above. And his name is Alon Zeibert. And I actually met him, funny story, in a networking event with Alliance. And he came for a speaking engagement. And I absolutely loved every word he said about the emotional connection and the effect of it. And, you know, in the end of the day, we do business with people. And I don't know about you, but the reason why I love sales and why I love the area that I'm in, it's because of people and helping people. So with no further ado, I want to welcome Alon. Hello, welcome. How are you today?
Hello. Thank you for having me.
So tell us a little about yourself for those who don't know you yet, and they should, but they don't know yet.
Thank you. All right. Grew up in Israel, but spent most of my adult life here in the States. I've been all over the place. I lived in California. I lived in Boston. I lived in Austin. And the last 13 years or so, I lived in New York. I went to school in New York. And the last 13 years or so, I've been in Atlanta. Most of my career, I've been around sales, but mainly sophisticated long-term sales that require relationships and trust. Okay. And my last corporate job, I was a VP sales of a large corporate travel conglomerate. And due to the pandemic, I got laid off along with a few other people in the travel industry. And that kind of pushed me to do my own thing. Now, obviously, those things don't happen overnight. So it already started, nesting a couple of years before. I started writing my blog. That kind of took off, and it pushed me to do my own thing and started doing online sessions, my blog, and consulting and coaching. And one thing led to another, and another company, thank God, success story and case study. And thank God, really, I'm very thankful.
I love it. And so you have the kind of perspective from all angles, which I love. So here's the deal about sales. And I will tell you because we're both from Israel, for those who don't know. And, it's very interesting coming as an immigrant to learn the customs, to learn the culture, to learn how to be yourself, but also to be, not to be a foreign, right? To have people connect to you. Did you feel there was some kind of transition you had to make?
No doubt. Look, there is a lot of studies and research around different cultures. And of course, one of my first classes I've taken in school in California was intercultural communication. Interpersonal communication was the first one. And then the second semester I took intercultural communication with the same professor. I don't remember his name, and I wish I remembered, because he made a huge impact on my life. I think that was the first time that something was planted in my mind and my soul about relationships and the impact of emotional connection, etc. I will tell you something very interesting, Natalie. During my studies in the last few years and research around what I do, I stumbled upon a study that talks about, in the US, Well, the US is one of the top touch phobic societies in the world.
Interesting.
Now, if you think about it for a second, the impact of it in the study talks about the impact of it on the violence in the society and depression. And if you think about it for a second, it shouldn't surprise anyone, right? In New York, it's not as much, but if you look, most of the US, personal space is a big thing.
Yes.
Right? Personal space. If you get into somebody's personal space. Now, in corporate America, it's even more distinct, right? Oh my God, you hug somebody in the office. Ugh,
Uh-oh.
you make friends with a
HR
client.
is already coming in the back door.
God forbid, right? God forbid. HR is. But, and here's the big but. So, yes, I had to make a lot of adjustments. Here's the big but. More and more studies, and more studies came because of the pandemic that prove today that we as human beings all have one mutual need, and that is the need to feel connected. That is the need to have a sense of belonging.
Yes.
Okay? Our biggest difference between, us and animals is the fact that we ride as a pack, right? We can collaborate and we can create something as a pack. That's the biggest difference if you read any historic reference, right? We ride as a pack. There's a DNA need for us to feel hugged, which is the opposite of corporate America. It's the opposite of the US culture, okay? But secretly, we all want to be hugged. So now translating it to the corporate world or to the sales world. When we go to a conference room for a sales meeting, let's say myself and the two colleagues, you and I and another colleague, we go to sell to a client. We've been talking to them for a while. We go to their premises. We go to a corporate, conference room, and let's say 5 of them, whatever. Okay. In that room, there are unwritten guidelines of how to speak, how to behave, etc. If you got up in the middle of the presentation and you said something and people really liked it and loved it, and you looked at the guy that you're selling to and he looked at you and you just went at it and just hugged each other because that's what goes through your mind, everybody else will be like,
what just happened?
Yeah. Right? What's going on?
Yes, absolutely.
So a few things I will tell you about this. One, I actually did it. And I got a complaint from somebody who was in the room, felt uncomfortable.
Wow.
Okay, because the person I hugged, he was there. It was like so natural. Okay. But still, society is not completely ready for that. But secretly, everybody in the room, oh my God, we want a hug too.
Yes.
So that's one thing. The other thing is I'm kind of taking it to the next level and prove the impact of this because, all right, we finished the meeting. There was no hugging. We finished the meeting in the room. There were some guidelines, rules. You can't say this. You're supposed to show that. You behave excellent. And then we finish, and you lock eyes with one of the executives, and you kind of, and you both walk towards the parking lot together or to his office.
The elevator, right.
Elevator. And all of a sudden, rules change, right?
So true.
The rules change. Now you talk at a different level. Now, like,
you see him as a person.
And now all of a sudden.
Not at that facade.
And when you talk to him right now, because you had that experience in the room, and you've known him for 6 months, 3 months, a month, a year, it depends how long the sales cycle is. So you establish some relationship. Now you're in the room and you're laughing and presenting and everything is good, etc. But now you talk to him one-on-one by the elevator. And you say, you finish whatever you talked. And like, again, you've known each other for a bit. All right, cool. We'll talk next week. We'll follow up. That's awesome. And you say goodbye, right? So you're coming in for That's the natural thing. We want to hug it goodbye. By the way, the Americans have invented the half hug.
Oh, I didn't even know that. Okay.
You know that thing where you kind of hold your hands here and you hug behind,
Oh, okay.
right? It's not a
Like a
hug
tap.
with both hands.
Gotcha.
It's like a hug here with a little tap, right? There are actually a series of different hugs. I did a presentation on hugging a while
I love
back.
it.
There's the side hug, right? There's the one hand hug. There's the tap.
Which hug are you?
Listen, I have a I have personal story that I'm not going to get into right now. It's too intimate. It's our first date, Natalie. So it's too
Yes.
intimate. But I actually learned from a guy who is sort of a therapist
Mm-hmm.
how to hug, emotionally, really to hug. Now, I
Mm-hmm.
get it. Everybody or a lot of people heard of the hugging of, 20 seconds and it releases some hormones, right? Serotonin, it releases different types of hormones. But so, very weird to hug for 20 seconds.
Yeah.
But I will just tell you this. First time the guy asked me to hug him, we hugged and he said, all right, there's a wall between us. There's a wall between us. Let's sit and talk, see how we can take that wall down brick by brick.
Yes.
And once we did and we hugged, it just felt completely different. And you could tell,
Yes.
right? You could tell. So that's kind of hug. But I want to also make sure you understand that it's not just a physical hugging, as I mentioned earlier, is how we make people feel hugged. Okay. Especially in today's online world.
Yes.
And there's so many ways to do that. So many ways to do that. Even in the online world. Okay, even in the online world. But in essence, what I'm doing, I came up with the term emotional relevance. I trademarked it. God bless America. I now own a term in the English language.
I love it.
Right? And it came after some things that happened to me in my career, and people asked me, how did you do that? How did you impact them like that? How did they, how? So I started researching, et cetera, and I came up with emotional relevance. The essence of it is to be remembered. To be remembered, okay?
Yes.
To be remembered in a way, think about it for a second. If you could control, how do you want to be remembered by your clients? It's like a superpower, Natalie. Absolutely. It's a superpower. So if you make them through your relationship with them, feel hugged in a certain way, and they will remember you that way, right? Every time they'll think of you and the brand you represent, that should trigger an emotional reaction, okay?
Yes.
That will connect to your relationship with them. And if it is emotional, they will remember. Okay? If I asked you, where were you during 9/11, I guarantee you will remember the details. The room you were in, who you were with, the colors of the wall, maybe even what you were wearing. If you close your eyes and think about it, it's there. Why do you remember so many details? Because it was an emotional experience.
Traumatic experience, absolutely. Yeah.
Now, people take traumatic obviously as a bad thing, as a negative thing. It doesn't have to be negative. It could be if I ask you to share, the letter of acceptance to school that you got, or a performance that you did, or anything positive,
Significant, yes.
winning shot for athletes, anything, whatever, you got a big gift, something positive. I'll tell you, it doesn't even have to be anything big, as long as it's emotional. I call it emotional anchors. If you can plant emotional anchors throughout your relationship with your client, that's it. You're done. And I'll tell you how, very quickly. First of all, when I asked you about 9/11, it triggered that memory, that emotional experience by you as well. You can't help it. It triggered it up.
Yes.
So you experience that again at a certain level. And we have today proof, scientific proof, that when we relive that experience to whatever extent, the level of memory it's engraved in our mind is actually becoming deeper. So we remember it even more.
Interesting.
So now, if you take an emotional anchor, throw these anchors along the way of your relationship with your clients and trigger them along the way, that's it, you're golden. If you do your homework and learn about your client, their personal needs and their hobbies, their preferences, etc., where they went to school, what team they like, etc.
Yes.
And let's say you talk to them, it's a Monday, and you talk to them and you know that they're big into hiking, okay? And, how was your weekend? I'm looking for a hiking place to go to, okay? You're not selling. You're talking to somebody about something that they like. You created an emotional reaction by them. They feel now more connected to you.
Right.
They talk about something they love. Hopefully you love it as well. Okay. You find that common ground.
Exactly.
Now, let me ask you this. You keep talking, work, etc. A week and a half later, you talk again. Or you follow up with an email and you send the email. And at the end of the email, by the way, see that picture, I went to that hike, okay? See that picture, that's where I went, okay? So psychologically what happens is you trigger that emotional anchor you planted a week and a half ago, okay? And now that client is going through that again, getting deeper into your relationship, trust level goes up, openness level grows.
Yes.
Retention rates grow, closing rates grow. That's the formula.
I love it. Question for you. As a salesperson, I see colleagues of mine that are in this, I work in construction real estate world, and we understand the power of connection and the power of personal connection. Sometimes it gets too personal. And sometimes I'm not talking about anything, outside the working relationship, but I'm talking about when you are only talking about establishing that personal relationship, but they don't give you the business. They trust you. They kind of know what you do, but they don't give you the business. Did you came across something like that? Do you have any tips to kind of overcome this?
One of my recent posts on my blog was titled, "Cultivate the relationship, not the opportunity."
Mm-hmm.
My philosophy, Natalie, is that if you created the relationship and the trust level, they didn't give you the business, so what? You stay in touch. Now they trust you. They will come.
Eventually.
When the timing is right,
So
if you may listen, it's not easy to do all of these things proactively all the time. It really isn't. That's why not too many people do that. Unfortunately, because I want to, get as many people do that, but it's hard. In a situation where you establish the trust, the relationship, and you don't get the business, you better stay in touch.
No matter what, because it shows that you're actually there, not because you care, not just because you want something from them. And people feel that.
You are relevant. If you stay relevant when the right timing is there, let me give you a really good practical example that hopefully will resonate with a lot of people who are listening. Every day, everywhere in the world, in an office, okay, someone stumbles upon a colleague or a boss, and the conversation goes something along the lines of, "Hey, how you doing? Great. How was your weekend? Blah, blah, blah. Oh, by the way, what's going on with that project? Or what did you find out about that technology we talked about? Or what are we doing about this challenge?" Right? It happens every day to all of us as people. My goal when I sell to people or when I create relationships, when I want to be relevant with people all the time, is that when they are asked that question by somebody in management, colleagues, doesn't matter who, the first thing that will come to mind is me. And how do I do that? By staying relevant. How do I stay relevant? I didn't get the business. Okay, I'm tagging them on LinkedIn every couple of weeks. I'm sending them maybe an email. Hey, I was thinking of you. I went to another hike. By the way, it doesn't have to be business. I went to another hike, and to another person I sent, yesterday I sent 3 because I drove down, I have pictures on my phone. I drove down the street and I saw this license plate that reminded me of this one person that I'm talking to. I don't know if they're going to be a client or not. I don't know, but I like them. Okay.
Yes.
And I like talking to them, and they're awesome. Okay. So I sent them a note with the picture. The message is, I'm thinking of you. I'm thinking of you. They feel what? Hugged.
Yes.
They feel relevant.
They feel seen. They feel heard. They feel you care.
So
yes.
tomorrow at night at dinner, they're going to talk to their neighbors, and their neighbor is saying, dude, I'm actually looking we have this event and I want to bring a speaker to my event. Dude, Alon, but that's why I want to be constantly relevant. Because if I'm not there in the front of their mind, right, somebody else is knocking on their door.
So true. So let's talk about COVID, because I know COVID kind of flipped everything for a lot of people, their business structure and just sales in general, and everybody feel more comfortable just going on a Zoom call, and how you create that emotional high touch conversation with prospects, how you do that.
Can I share something personal with you?
I would love to.
No, seriously, may I?
Well, yes, and for all the people are listening, sure.
Okay. Did you see what I just did?
Yes. Okay, I knew exactly.
Okay, but still, you were a little embarrassed. You were a little kind of your instinct, which is also fine. Yeah. It was just a little emotional thing. Now, some people are now saying, oh, that's an act, et cetera, et cetera. If you mean it, it's not an act.
Of course.
Let me tell you what happened during pandemic. And I love the outcome of that element of the pandemic, of the emotional connection. Now everybody talks about EQ. Everybody really now talks about it because beginning of the pandemic, we were still online, dressed up, right? Shaved, clean. Slowly during the pandemic, kids started showing up, going through. Yes. Dogs are barking. And slowly, it's become natural.
Right.
That's the human nature. When we talk on the phone and all of a sudden the call drops, okay? In the past, we used to, like, what happened? Call back. What happened? Who? Did you disconnect? Today, the call drops, we just keep talking as if nothing happened. We call back, we keep talking. Why? Because we accept it. It happens and we accept it. Okay, so slowly during the pandemic, now, keep in mind, the setting is intimate to begin with. You are now at home. I'm at home. You're in my bedroom. My bedroom is next door.
Yes.
You're in your kitchen. You know how many conversations I've had with people? Their bed is in the back, and we all did. So there's an intimate setting. Even though we're not connected, there's an intimate setting.
Yes.
Here's the other underline here. When we experience something emotional together, we are connected, okay? Brothers in arms, not soldiers in arms, brothers in arms. We go through hardship, right? Teammates in any sports will tell you, in the locker room, we go through practice together, hardship, we go through stuff together, we're connected. We all have gone through the pandemic. We all have gone through something together. You're in New York, right? Okay. If you meet somebody from New York, and it was 2 weeks after the blackout, not even 9/11, nothing as big. Remember the blackout?
Yeah, I do, actually.
Okay. All right, good. If you meet somebody who has gone through the blackout, you don't know them, but they've gone through the blackout with you, immediately you have that sense of, oh, we all gone through the pandemic. That's the underline. Then there's the intimate setting. Okay. So what happened was, the only problem was at first people were objecting to it unknowingly because it's against what we've been taught in corporate America. You can't be intimate and tell you, oh, I mean, you haven't fixed your bed. Look, come on, man. Seriously.
Come on. Yeah.
Okay, but we wanted, just like that hug that we talked about at the beginning, right? We wanted it. So for me, it was great. All of a sudden, everybody's more open to share. Everybody more open to be more vulnerable, which I love because we're human. And again, we're taught to put our suits on and be,
yes.
No.
I mean, there is something to say about being professional and do your job professionally.
Yep.
But people love to feel that it's not just business, right? People want to feel that you actually care. And you're going to do above and beyond, and it's not just a number or a proposal or another invoice.
I'm so glad you said that, because it definitely should not undermine anything about the professional level.
Correct.
Absolutely not. It's interesting because, nowadays, the difference, like product and services whole, almost become table stakes. Meaning, if I talk to you, you sell to me, I assume I've looked into it, my people will look into it, but I assume your product does what it's supposed to do. Otherwise, we wouldn't be even talking.
Exactly.
That's why the biggest difference these days is what you just touched, which is the relationship and the trust. Okay, how many times many of us have gone into RFPs, RFIs, RFPs, we made it from 10 to the top 3. Okay, now it's decision time. Okay, what do you think is happening? The mid-level management team that has worked with us on the RFP, okay, they're going now to the executive team and presenting it to someone. And they're presenting 3 options, 2 options, doesn't matter. We're one of them, okay? The decision makers, the top people who have not been fully engaged throughout the RFP process, they trust their management team, right? Their mid-management team. And they say, all right, go ahead, tell us. All right, so they give us now the pitch on this one and then a pitch on this one. Okay, pricing is pretty much the same. They have these 3 features that they don't have. They have these 3 features that they don't have. Who do you recommend? What are they going to say? Oh, we like these guys. We trust these guys. If everything else is equal, which again, we live in a very competitive environment today, right? And I'm sure your competitors in your day job, they're probably good and respectable, and right. So your buyer, they're looking at you versus your competitor saying, I mean, if you break it down, really it's the same, right? You charge quarterly, they charge monthly. Those are the differences today in today's competitive market. So where does it? It comes to the trust. It comes to how much they believe you can deliver. How much they feel that you can deliver. You need to prove that through that relationship.
Absolutely. I love this so much. So for those who want to learn more about everything that you coach and teach or invite you for engagements, where can they find you?
They can find me on my website, alonzeibert.com. So it's ALONZAIBERT.com. My contact information is there. Feel free to reach out. Sign up for my blog. My blog is called 2 Weeks Notice, a touch of emotional relevance every couple of weeks.
Ooh,
okay. I'm not supposed to talk about it too much, so you're going to be the first that I'm saying it publicly, but I am going to be doing a TED Talk this year. I'm super excited about that.
Amazing.
So yeah, that's the easiest way to get to me.
I love it. Thank you so, so much, Alon, for coming in here and talking about all these amazing points and So needed right now. I feel like we can talk more about this. So if you guys have any follow-up questions, I'm sure we would love to come back and
Please,
answer
absolutely.
specific questions. Because sales, it's a very complicated and every kind of I would say construction versus IT versus different, different industries. It's very
Correct.
different. And specifically also selling online. But I hope
Yes.
you understand that in the end of the day, it doesn't matter if it's on computer, off computer, in person, off. It's all about relationships. It's all about creating that authentic, real connection with people. So thank you again so much, Alon.
It's
And
a true pleasure, Natalie. Thank you. Thank you for this hug.
I was just giving you a hug. I hope you saw.
Yeah.
This is my version of a hug. I love it.
Let's go.
Welcome to the Effortlessly Abundant Life podcast, where we will dive into the mind.